Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. We are on chapter 12 of the book, Thought Vibration by William Walker Atkinson. We are continuing the reading. If you missed any of the previous readings, it's all in the playlist here on the YouTubes, on this channel. If you're not on YouTube, hop on over, join us. It's always a fun party. So we are trucking along. We are almost to the end of this book. So chapter 12, Developing New Brain Cells. That is the title of this chapter, Developing New Brain Cells. And again, this is from the 1906 book by William Walker Atkinson, Thought Vibration. This has been a very good book. I hope you're enjoying it all. And again, if you missed any of the previous readings, it is on the playlists. All right, let's jump in. I have spoken of the plan of getting rid of undesirable states by feeling by driving them out. But a far better way is to cultivate the feeling or emotion directly opposite to the one you wish to eradicate. We are very apt to regard ourselves as the creatures of our emotions and feelings, and to fancy that these feelings and emotions are we. Okay, let me read that again. We are very apt to regard ourselves as the creatures of our emotions and feelings, and to fancy that these feelings and emotions are we. But such is far from being the truth. It is true that the majority of the race are slaves of their emotions and feelings and are governed by them to a great degree. Ain't that the truth? They think that feelings are things that rule one and from which one cannot free himself. Yeah. So what he's saying is, the majority of people, they're slaves to their emotions and feelings. And they are governed by them to a great degree. So we are not taught that we can control our emotions and our feelings. We think we're victims of them. And we spoke about this in the last two videos. You can absolutely, no matter what's happening outside of you, no matter what anybody's doing or what situations are happening, you can control, even in the worst case scenarios. The biggest examples I always use are Viktor Frankl. He was the Viennese psychiatrist who was in the Jewish concentration camps. His entire family was murdered and he was abused. Just the worst atrocious situation. And it was there he realized they cannot make me think and feel anything I don't want to. They can't make me believe something about myself, no matter what names they're calling me, no matter what stories they're telling me about whatever. He realized that's the only single true power we have is to how we will respond. So there's a stimulus, this terrible situation happening, and there is this space, this moment where we can choose what we're going to think about it, which is going to cause what we feel about it. So we're in control of our thoughts and emotions. And he's saying, but the majority of people, there are slaves to their emotions and feelings, and they're governed by them because they don't know that they have a choice. And you can say, well, they're making me so mad. He's making me upset. You don't know what they did to me. That they can be acting like jerks. Things can be wild. People can do terrible, atrocious things. Oh, the other example was Nelson Mandela. He was in the prison for 26 years? And then he forgave his captors. So those are extreme examples, but just thinking about our life, and we all go through things. But what if we could entertain the idea that we're not upset and we're not pissed and we're not angry and triggered because of what happened out here or who did what to us? But it's the way we're perceiving it. We're always in control of how we feel, and it doesn't in any way disregard what we have been through, right? We have to process that, but holding on to it and making it the reason why we feel that way, it's an illusion that is not good. It just never ends well because you're a slave to it. And that's not what you truly are. So he says, most people think that feelings are things that rule one and from which one cannot free himself. And so they cease to rebel. People don't even fight it. If you've gone through things, I'm a therapist and I work with people all the time who've been through trauma, and the stories I've heard, my goodness. And I've been through my own things too. And you do feel like a victim if something bad has happened to you, and people treat you like one too. And although it's really important to share your story, be heard, process it, what's next? The healing part is the main thing, to have that inner peace. We can't control what other people do. We can't identify or change our narrative and story to, take on the identity of someone who, is a victim. We might have been victimized at times, but to carry around the narrative without processing it is what I mean. And we do that unconsciously because we get secondary gains, because again, many people don't know they have the option, and that's why they come to therapy. And it's life-changing when you free yourself from that. So most people think that they're ruled by their emotions and they can't even fight back, and so they don't even try. They yield to the feeling without question, although they may know that the emotion or mental trait is calculated to injure them and to bring unhappiness and failure instead of happiness and success. They say, "We are made that way," and let it go at that. The new psychology is teaching the people better things. It tells them that they are masters of their emotions and feelings. This is really when the New Thought movement started happening back in the early 1900s. I mean, I'm sure it happened way before. I mean, heck, you can look back to ancient scriptures in some cases and find these messages of trying to communicate to people, you have control over what you think, and over what you think will create the way you feel, and the way you feel will create your behavior, and your behavior will create your life, your results in life. So this new psychology is teaching people better things. It tells them that they are the masters of their emotions and feelings instead of being their slaves. I mentioned it before, and I'll mention it. If you look underneath the description in this video or any of the videos, it should have the vibration and frequency masterclass that I did of how exactly this, explaining what the mind actually is and how you can shift your vibration and your frequency. So if you hear those words thrown around, like, how do I control my thoughts, or how do I regulate my moods or emotions? Like, you're going to love the vibration and frequency masterclass. I explain it. It's like, is it 2 hours? I don't know how long, but there's different modules. And with it, you can get these EFT tapping audios to recalibrate. I am so happy with it. So if you're interested, the link is below to watch that. And it goes into what vibration and frequency are, because, not a lot of people explain it in a way, at least for me, that I understood. So, all right. So he says, the new science is teaching people that they are the masters of their emotions and feelings instead of being their slaves. It tells people that brain cells may be developed that will manifest along desirable lines, and that the old brain cells that have been manifesting so unpleasantly may be placed on the retired list and allowed to atrophy from want of use. That's the truth. Like, if you think of like different neural pathways and synapses in the brain, the cells that fire and wire together, and the communications that make associations based on how we take in the world. And once we have a strong emotional impact and like these associations get fused, like anytime I go on a date, I get rejected. Like, the feeling and the thought of like rejection and embarrassment is associated with dating. So people just don't date because those are so tightly wound. But we can create new networks. And so say this network exists that I get rejected every time I go dating. And then we start to create a new one through affirmations or just being opened and looking at the positive things about us. Like, you know what? I'm worthy. I know I'm worth, like, I'm such a good person to be around, or whatever, right? So you take dating, the idea of dating, and you hook it up to a new association. Like, and it doesn't have to be like, I'm amazing, I love dating, I can do it so confidently. It's like, I love going out and meeting new people. Instead of dating, I always get rejected. Dating, I love going out and meeting new people. It's fun. There's no pressure. We start to strengthen that connection. And then this one, the negative one, the dating associated with rejection, starts to die off by lack of use. It's just like a pathway. If you have a big field of grass and you walk back and forth for years at a time, you're going to pave a path. The grass is going to die off, and it's just going to be a dirt road. because you kept going down that. You're going to, first the grass is going to be matted down, then it's going to slowly die off, and then it's going to be a road. There's a big green grass field and one dirt road because you kept walking down that, and the grass isn't growing there anymore because it's now a pathway. And so whenever you go to that field, that's a pathway you're going to go down because it's already established. But if you, because your brain truly is like this endless field of fresh green grass. If you just go over here to a different area and you keep walking down a new path with a positive connection. So again, say our green grass, the example is the green grass is all about dating. And the one pathway you carve and the thought and the feeling is I get rejected, I get rejected, I get rejected, I get rejected. So anytime you think about dating, I get rejected. That's the association. But if you're willing to just even right next to it, no pressure, I like meeting new people. No pressure, I like meeting new people. No pressure, I like meeting new people. All of a sudden, you're going to carve a new pathway. Where there was once fresh grass, you're going to carve a new pathway. And this one, slowly but surely, because you're not going down it anymore, the grass is going to start to grow in, and then the pathway will disappear because you're not using it anymore. So he's saying that we can make new brain cells or new pathways, and we allow this other one to atrophy or disappear for lack of use. People may make themselves over and change their entire natures. This is not merely idle theory, but is a working fact which has been demonstrated by thousands of people and which, in coming more and more before the attention of the race, this is neuroplasticity. That's what he's talking about. Through mindfulness, you can change the brain. You can change the wiring in the brain and in your body. You can change your nervous system, how it's wired and how it reacts. Through mindfulness. No matter what theory of mind we entertain, we must admit that the brain is the organ and instrument of mind. That's the truth. Your brain is the noodle in your head, between your ears, in your skull. Your brain is a piece of anatomy, something we can see, we can hold in our hand, like a brain in a cadaver, from a cadaver. We can x-ray, we can see pictures and scans of the brain. It's a material, physical organ. But the mind is not the brain. The mind is the energy which activates and tells the brain how to be programmed. So think about your brain as your phone, your iPhone, and your mind as you, the programmer, or whatever, You are in control of what the brain does. You are in control of what the phone does. So it's like the brain is the hardware, the mind is the software. And you can update the software whenever you want. So no matter what theory of mind we entertain, we must admit that the brain is the organ and instrument of the mind, in our present state of existence at least, and that the brain must be considered in this matter. The brain is like a wonderful musical instrument having millions of keys upon which we may play innumerable combinations of sound. We come into the world with certain tendencies, temperaments, and predispositions. Yeah, like we come like pre-carved a little bit based on the imprints, the epigenetics that are put onto us, the imprints energetically from our ancestors, truly, like from our parents and their tendencies. But we're so neuroplastic and we can change anytime we want. So he says, we come into this world with certain tendencies, temperaments, and predispositions. We may account for these tendencies by heredity, or we may account for them upon theories of pre-existence, but the facts remain the same. Certain keys seem to respond to our touch more easily than others. Certain notes seem to sound forth as the current of circumstances sweep over the strings. And certain other notes are less easily vibrated. That is so cool. So he says certain notes seem to sound forth as the current of circumstances sweeps over the strings. Certain keys seem to respond to our touch more easily than others. But we find that if we but make an effort of the will, our focus, to restrain the utterance of some of these easily sounded strings, they will grow more difficult to sound and less liable to be stirred by the passing breeze. Yeah, if we are just prone to, like, let's think about it, anxiety. If you were a fetus in your mother's belly and she was experiencing high levels of anxiety, cortisol was pumping, she was in a very threatening situation, she was being abused, whatever, that is coded into you and you might experience high anxiety. Okay? So you are already prone and easily, it doesn't take much to make you anxious or freaked out. But he's saying, if we will pay attention to some of these strings that are easily triggered, we can not react to them or do everything we can to regulate. That's just my example. If we will pay attention to some of the other strings that have not been giving forth a clear tone, we will soon get them in good working order. Their notes will chime forth clear and vibrant and will drown the less pleasant sounds. So life isn't fair. You know, it might take more work. Everybody deals with their own thing. And unfortunately, we are obsessed with the 3D world. So if you can't see someone suffering, people don't believe you, right? It's like, I think I said in another video about like, you know, handicaps, like say somebody doesn't have a limb or like physically, they have a physical handicap, or like you see someone in a wheelchair. Like when you're a kid, it's like, well, at least when I felt so sorry for people, I didn't understand that like mental handicaps are truly worse. I mean, I always think about that guy, his name is Nick something, and he like has no limbs. He's just a torso, and he's like a world-renowned speaker, motivational speaker. He's married with kids and has a happy family. Like he didn't let any of his handicaps get in the way. You can adapt. We are physical beings. We're animals. We can adapt. And there's so much technology these days. But bottom line, when, you know, we are thinking about, you know, how certain people have certain struggles, we're obsessed with this physical world. If someone's poor, if someone's born into like poverty, if someone doesn't have certain limbs, like immediately we're like, oh yeah, they have it bad, right? And what is it? Relatively, they do, compared to somebody with all their limbs or somebody born in wealth. But the inner game, somebody like, I always bring up that gentleman, Jay Glazer. He is a sports commentator, I think on like Fox Sports, where he was. And he had a panic attack live on air. And he shares his story about, you know, coming out of the closet basically with his struggles of mental illness, of debilitating depression daily, having suicidal ideation daily, having depression so bad he felt like he was beat up with a baseball bat, his rib cage hurt. He has such high anxiety that he was having panic. And that is a mental handicap, right? It's like, but nobody could see that. To the outside, he's like on TV at the sports around a bunch of famous people. And so we all struggle, whether it be something we could see out here or something that's going on in here. Everybody's struggling with something. So don't be fooled by what you see, thinking that people have it perfect, because they don't. And I feel very blessed and lucky to be in a position that I'm in as a therapist, to be able to see it firsthand, you know? And it's scary to talk about that kind of stuff because people will judge you, you know? Yeah, there's just a lot of stigma. There's a lot of stigma because we can't see it. All right. So he goes on to say, we have millions of unused brain cells awaiting our cultivation. We are using but a few of them, and some of these are working to death. We are able to give some of these cells a rest by using other cells. The brain may be trained and cultivated in a manner incredible to one who has not looked into the subject. Mental attitudes may be acquired and cultivated, changed and discarded at will. Just let that sink in. Mental attitudes may be acquired and cultivated, changed and discarded at will. If there's a will, there's a way. If there's something not working in your life, if you don't feel good, you can change it. I went through a whomper. Ooh, okay, this week I realized that this old fear had popped up, and it had me for a second. And I thought, no, I can't. I'm not going to, because I think I was like trying to make a post on social media, and I had my tripod set up, and I was so irritated and I was so triggered. And I tried to like film it. I kept having to repeat it. I was like, this isn't working. And then in my mind, the narrative was like, well, you got to get it done. You're not going to have time. Da 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 da. You said you do it, blah, blah. And all this pressure was coming. And I turned it off and I just sat here. And I said, this isn't working. I am triggered right now. I will not create or take any action from this internal state. And there was stuff riding on it. Let's just put it that way. So in my mind, I was like, I can't afford not to do this. But really, I can't afford to do this in this energy. If it all has to crumble, if I lose out and miss out on what I had to do, so be it. I can no longer be a slave to pushing through and letting this emotion dictate what I do. If everything had to fall, if it's not working, it's not working. Let it all burn to the ground, baby. Because I do not want to operate if something's not working. You know, I was talking to somebody today and we were talking about how when you want to make a change and you feel stuck like Chuck, let's just use finances because a lot of people are stuck with finances. So somebody was talking about, you know, they thought that there was like an opening, like hope financially to give them a little wiggle room to maybe just give them more time to spend on themselves and what they want to build. But that was kind of like crushed in a moment with some new information. So now they're giving everything, all they got to their kid, to their job. And they're like, now I really feel suffocated. Now I don't have that option. There's no hope anymore. I feel hopeless. I feel like I'm doing everything. I'm barely hanging on. I'm doing all I can do and it's barely making ends meet. I thought I was going to have a little bit of time so that I could start working my way out of this, but that was taken away. So now I'm just sitting here drowning again. And so what do we do when we feel like there's nowhere to go? The walls are closed in and we are stuck. We barely have the energy to survive this moment, let alone work towards something else. This is one of the most painful places to be, and I've been there so many times. But the truth is, if you just relax, stop. You're not accepting what is. You're just sitting here and observing and you're just breathing, and I just need you to be calm. You don't like where you're at. You're not happy. You feel stuck. No thoughts that come from that will help you. You have to calm down. What's good? I have a roof over my head, if you do. If you're watching this, you probably do. I have a place to get food, or I have a couch to sleep on. I have clothes. I can take a shower. Basics. Go back to basics. Square one. If you have to take 2 steps back so that you can take that leap forward, do it. Do what you got to do till you can do what you want to do. Don't try to force it from this place of dysregulation. So if you're stuck, just sit there and calm yourself and think of what you're grateful for and what's good. Once you're calm, the clouds will clear. I promise you an idea will come to you, or something. One thing will come your way, believe me, because it's probably been trying to get in, but you've been, flailing around and you haven't heard it or seen it. It's like, when it's like a snow globe, like say it's like there's a bunch of dirt and you shake it, you can't see what's going on. You have no vision because everything's stirred up. You got to wait till it settles down so you can see clearly. So if you are in a position you don't want, try to regulate your emotions the best you can. If you're in a position where you can't, like if you're unsafe, like GTFO, like start with basics, start with safety. But if you feel stuck and you hear all these people saying, well, just think positive, just do this. Like if that's pissing you off, I get it. But just try to find one good thing. Start focusing on the good things, any good things. I have one clean sock. I don't care. I have a blanket. And anybody who's listening to this is not, I guarantee in those dire situations, if you have a Wi-Fi signal and a phone or a tablet or any sort of electronic device. So if somebody in the worst case scenarios can do it, which they have, we can do it. It's literally about our thoughts. And I've been so on this one, because just talking to people, whether it be coaching or therapy, it's like, I am really understanding. And I know this myself, your thoughts is the determining factor. It will be the determining factor if you live or die. It's like very black and white. Do you want to live or do you want to slowly die? We have to get serious about this because it is very serious. People are in misery, man, people are suffering. And I have been there, and that's why I'm so passionate about this. And just buckle up, because it's just about to get wild. Like, I don't care anymore. Like, I'm unhinged. I would, like, what's it called when you filter yourself or censor yourself? No more. I'm not going to do that anymore. Yeah. Okay. That was a side tangent. All right. Mental attitudes may be acquired and cultivated, changed and discarded at will. There is no longer any excuse for people manifesting unpleasant and harmful mental states. We have the remedy in our own hands. Boom. Beautiful. There is no longer any excuse. I'll talk to you. There is no longer any excuse for you to manifest unpleasant mental states. There is no room. There is no more excuse for you to manifest unpleasant mental states. You have the remedy in your hand. We acquire habits of thought, feeling, and action by repeated use. What are you repeating? Who are you surrounding yourself with? What kind of music are you listening to? What kind of social media are you engaging in? Like I said, I took 2 months off the past couple, like a month ago. Do what you got to do. Are you staying up late scrolling when you need to go to bed? If you want to get up and go to the gym, why can't you? Are you staying up too late? Are you on the phone with people? Just filling time, filling airspace? Like, what are you doing? Are you focused? We acquire habits of thought, feeling, and action by repeated use. We may be born with a tendency in a certain direction, or we may acquire tendencies by suggestion from others. So like nature and nurture. We are programmed from both genetically programmed and environmentally programmed. So we are born genetically with tendencies, or we acquire tendencies of suggestions from others, from our environment, such as the examples of those around us, suggestions from reading, listening, and teachers. We are a bundle of mental habits. Each time we indulge in an undesirable thought or habit, the easier does it become to repeat that thought or action. Again, just like the road. Once we establish a road, a pathway, a thought associated with something, it's easy. So it's about habits. We're all very disciplined, and we create habits all the time. Are they good? Are they bad? It's up to us. Each time we indulge in an undesirable thought or habit, it becomes easier and easier to repeat it. And the oftener we give forth a certain desirable thought or perform a desirable action, the easier that becomes for us to repeat that thought or action. Mental scientists are in the habit of speaking of desirable thoughts or mental attitudes as positive and of the undesirable ones as negative. There is a good reason for this. The mind instinctively recognizes certain things as good for the individual to which it belongs, and it clears the path for such thoughts and interposes the least resistance to them. They have a much greater effect than an undesirable thought possesses. Okay, let's read that again. Mental scientists are in the habit of speaking of desirable thoughts or mental attitudes as positive and the undesirable ones as negative. There's a good reason for this. The mind instinctively recognizes certain things as good for the individual to which it belongs, and it clears the path for such thoughts and interposes the least resistance to them. They have much greater effect than an undesirable thought possesses, and one positive thought will counteract a number of negative thoughts. That's hopeful. I like that. So he's saying the mind instinctively recognizes certain things that are good for us and will make it easy for us to do it. On the other hand, it makes it hard for us to establish negative thoughts, and we feel that. That's why we feel like garbage when we have bad thoughts and habits. So he's saying that one positive thought will counteract a bunch of negative thoughts. So again, if you find yourself in a funk for a temporary time, I think I did a video on this about, you can still manifest when you're feeling like poo-poo. It's, as we learned from Elsie Lincoln Benedict, another book on the playlists, be sure to listen to that. Your predominant moods make your life. The predominant moods. The mood and the thoughts and beliefs of who you are predominantly, like your frequency that you frequent, not the changing vibes that go up and down, But if we give too much energy, attention, and focus to a certain vibe or a certain mood, that becomes our baseline. But what he's saying is, if you establish a good baseline, if you establish a good thought pattern most of the time, and things start going haywire and life gets tough for a moment, don't get freaked out and be like, oh, now I'm screwed. Now I'm going to attract all sorts of negative things. No, because he's saying one positive thought will counteract a number of negative thoughts. If you stay on that train, yeah, but temporary fleeting thoughts won't manifest your life for you. It's the predominant moods, your baseline. The best way to overcome undesirable or negative thoughts and feelings is to cultivate the positive ones. The positive thought is the strongest plant and will, in time, starve out the negative one by withdrawing from it the nourishment necessary for its existence. Absolutely. Think of yourself like a tree, and your life force is the sap going all up to the tree, feeding it from the ground, the sap, and you have many branches. And the sap goes to the branches, strengthening the branches. Well, say you have good branches and the sap, you want to give the good thoughts, you want to give all your life, your energy force to the branches, your sap to the good branches, and there's like one negative branch. Stop giving it sap. All of your sap will go to the positive ones, and then the little one will get all, withered out and fall off because you're not giving it energy and sap. That's what he's saying. The positive thoughts is the strongest branch, and it will in time starve out the negative branch by withdrawing from it all of its nourishment. So the positive branches will take all of the nourishment for itself, leaving no nourishment and sustenance for the negative ones to grow. Of course, the negative thought will set up a vigorous resistance at first, for it is a fight for life within it. Yes, your negative thoughts, addictions, habits won't go down without a fight. Double down. When times get hard, double down on the good. In the slang words of the time, it sees its finish. In the positive thought, is allowed to grow and develop. So basically, it's gonna die if the positive thought is allowed to grow and develop. And consequently, it makes things unpleasant for the individual until he has started well into the work of starving it out. Okay, let me read that again. So it's going to die off the negative if the positive thought is allowed to grow and develop, and consequently, it makes things unpleasant for the individual until he has started well into the work of starving it out. Yeah, we're going to struggle if we hold on and feed those negative thoughts and have people around us that feed those negative thoughts. Really guard your heart, guard your mind with all your might, because all your life comes from it, my friends. Brain cells do not like to be laid on the shelf any more than does any other form of living energy, and they rebel and struggle until they become too weak to do so. The best way is to pay as little attention as possible to these weeds of the mind, but put in as much time as possible watering, caring for, and attending to the new and beautiful plants in the garden of the mind. I love that. For instance, if you are apt to hate people, you can best overcome the negative thought by cultivating love in its place. Think love and act it out as often as possible. Cultivate thoughts of kindness and act as kindly as you can to everyone with whom you come in contact. You will have trouble at the start, but gradually love will master hate, and the latter will begin to droop and wither. If you have a tendency toward the blues, cultivate a smile and a cheerful view of things. Insist upon your mouth wearing up, turned corners, and make an effort of the will to look upon the bright side of things. Yeah. Even if it feels fake at first. If you're in a funk, you ain't gonna have no happy thoughts. You gotta push, you gotta force it. You gotta make it happen. It's like, you don't feel like getting out of bed when your alarm goes off to go to the gym. It takes some strength before that habit is formed. I love this. He says, the blue devils will set up a fight, of course, but pay no attention to them. Just go on cultivating optimism and cheerfulness. Is that when you have like the blues, like the depression? The blue devils. Oh, I'm going to use that. Let bright, cheerful, and happy be your watchword, and try to live it out. These recipes may seem very old and time-worn, but they are psychological truths and may be used by you to advantage. If you once comprehend the nature of the thing, the affirmations and autosuggestions of the several schools may be understood and taken advantage of. You may make yourself energetic instead of slothful, active instead of lazy by this method. It is all a matter of practice and steady work, repetition. New thought people often have much to say about holding the thought, and indeed it is necessary to hold the thought in order to accomplish results. But something more is needed. You must act out. Wow, this is so important. This is, I think, where a lot of people get messed up, especially when it comes to like manifesting and the law of attraction. He says all these people who are into this new age manifestation, thoughts create your life, have much to say about holding the thought and repeating it, and that's necessary. But what's needed even more is taking action, acting out the thought until it becomes a fixed habit within you, taking the actions that match the thought. You can't just think about it. Thoughts take form in action. If you're just sitting there thinking all day, listening to podcasts and YouTube videos, and you are doing nothing, you're going to explode. If you're just consuming and not producing anything and taking action, that's where anxiety and the blue devils come in, okay? You must act out the thought until it becomes a fixed habit. Thoughts take form in action, and in turn, action influences thought. So by acting out certain lines of thought, the actions react upon the mind and increase the development of the part of the mind having close relation to the act. Each time the mind entertains a thought, the easier becomes the resulting action. So true. And each time an act is performed, the easier becomes the corresponding thought. It's a loop. We think, we feel, we act, we get results. Those results create more thoughts. Think, feel, act, get results. We have thoughts about those results. Think, feel, act, get results. Mostly we're thinking negative, feeling negative, acting negative, getting results we don't like, then we think about those negative results, and then it just wash, rinse, and repeats. If you feel cheerful, okay, wait, where did I go? Okay, so thoughts take form in action, and in turn, action influences thought. So the acting out certain lines of thought, by acting out certain lines of thought, the actions react upon the mind and increase the development of the part of the mind having close relation to the act. Each time the mind entertains a thought, the easier becomes the resulting action. And each time an act is performed, the easier becomes the corresponding thought. Everything's connected. It's like the classic cognitive behavioral model. So you see the thing work both ways, action and reaction. If you feel cheerful and happy, it is very natural for you to laugh. And if you will laugh a little, you will begin to feel bright and cheerful. Do you see what I am trying to get at? Here it is, in a nutshell. If you wish to cultivate a certain habit of action, begin by cultivating the mental attitude corresponding to it. And as a means of cultivating that mental attitude, start into acting out or going through the motions of the act corresponding to the thought. Now, see if you cannot apply this rule. Take up something that you really feel should be done, but which you do not feel like doing. Cultivate the thought leading up to it. Say to yourself, I like to do so-and-so. Let's just take working out. I like to work out, and then go through the motions, cheerfully remember, and act out the thought that you like to do a thing. Even if it's just doing 5 push-ups in your bedroom when you wake up in the morning. I like to work out. Do 10 jumping jacks. I like to work out. Do 5 squats right when you get out of bed. Take an interest in the doing. Study out the best way to do it. Put brains into it. Take a pride in it, and you will find yourself doing the thing with a considerable amount of pleasure and interest. You will have cultivated a new habit. So just like I like to be active, I like to eat healthy, like put 1 piece of broccoli on your plate. If it's, it's like start small. It's not all or nothing. We get in our way sometimes. Like I was talking to somebody about I was so stuck. I didn't want to work. It was drudge to get to the gym. And he's like, can you get on your Stairmaster for 10 minutes? I was like, yeah. But I'm used to being there for an hour, doing HIIT classes. So I was like, that's stupid. And I disregarded it. But getting on the Stairmaster for 10 minutes a day got me back into it. Take baby steps if it's hard at first. If you prefer trying it on some mental trait of which you wish to be rid, it will work the same way. Start in to cultivate the opposite trait and think it out and act it out for all you are worth. Then watch the change that will come over you. Don't be discouraged at the resistance you will encounter at first, but sing gaily, I can and I will. Just like we learned, I can and I will. And get to work in earnest. The important thing in this work is to keep cheerful and interested. If you manage to do this, the rest will be easy. The important thing to this work is to keep cheerful and interested and surround yourself with cheerful and interested people. Don't be hanging around with a bunch of duds. There was a video, I think it was, who was it? Brian Tracy. Stop hanging around losers. Stop hanging around people that just talk. They ain't doing anything. They're just judging other people. Get away from those people. All right, y'all, that was chapter 12. We did it. Of William Walker Atkinson's book, Thought Vibration. Again, all the information is below if you want to join the Vibration and Frequency Masterclass with the cool audios that you can add on to it. All the playlists, all the previous videos, and many other books are in the playlists. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any questions. Share your takeaways. I appreciate each and every one of you. I love me some YouTube University.